Well, hey everybody, it's the 31st of March 2025. I'm Jan Erickson and this is As Above, So Below. Well, I hope you had a good weekend. We got quite a bit of rain this weekend. A little bit of hail. Nothing damaging though, fortunately. And it didn't last very long. The rain did though. We got quite a bit of that. But I hope you're all doing well for a Monday on the last day of March. Let's take a look at the rune for today. We have Thurzaz, Thor's rune. Now, Thurzaz is the third rune of the Elder Futhark. It means giants and chaos and basically defense, new beginnings. It's useful in weather magic. But realistically, Thurzaz is about what opposes you. And I mean, it could even be yourself that's opposing you. So are you getting in the way of your own self today? Are other challenges happening that you're not particularly thrilled with? You know, are you lacking some impulse control today? Let's take a look at what the Geomancy rune is. Put them in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. Oh, okay. Well, we have Carcer. Carcer and Conjunctio are the opposites of one another. Conjunctio is joining. It looks like a little hourglass. But Carcer is, looks like a little ampule or bird cage there. Carcer is all about self-restriction or getting in the way of yourself. So again, you know, if we're looking at the idea of what opposes you with Thurzaz, it could be whatever's keeping you stuck in perception, maybe. It could be just basically self-imprisonment, if you will. And if it's about how you see the world, well, maybe those perceptions are just keeping you from progressing forward. So that might be one way to look at this. I don't want to get too specific, though, about it. Let's just wait and see. Carcer is considered one of the evil influences in the Geomancy set. Rubius is another one. Laetitia, or not Laetitia, but Tristitia could be another. And generally speaking, what that means is you're just letting ego get in the way of things. Where ego's defining everything you do, and a lack of impulse control and having a personal agenda and things like that, versus being able to see things from a higher perspective. So we largely do it to ourselves, although there can be times when we are feeling controlled or imprisoned by other people. And so we'll just see, though. We'll see what the cards have to say, if it's going to define that just a little bit further, if that's the direction it wants to go in. It's just interesting that, you know, what opposes you could also, again, what you do to yourself to keep you in a place that is not going to be very realistic. So I've cut the deck and I've taken 3 cards. We've got a run on Pentacles here. We've got the Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. And we also have the Ten of Swords. So if we were to say about what imprisons you, it's suggesting that you have the opportunity right now to let some of that go with the Ten of Swords. So, and from there you can achieve a little bit better balance for yourself, material, with say material security, or with just some peace and happiness in your life, in your home, and what have you. But let's go ahead and talk about the Knight of Pentacles here first, before we go to these other 2 cards. Well, actually, before we do that, I did this the other day. I didn't do the numerology. So we've got 3 for Thurzaz, nothing for the Knight. We've got 10 for the Ten of Swords, and 9 for the Nine of Pentacles. And so we got 22. So that's the master number for the Cosmic Builder. We're not going to reduce that to its lower vibration of 4. We'll just leave it at 22. So there's a sense of rebuilding about this today, to let go of things that keep you imprisoned, that basically keep you from moving forward in say perceptions that are doing that for you. What opposes you then with Thurisaz, and what you need to break through, is all of that. You need to break through the perceptions that are, maybe even they're there due to family or people you associate with. You start thinking different ways. You start thinking like the group that you're in thinks, basically. And now it's time to break free from all of that and start thinking about things on your own. And I'm using the word thinking here because of the 10 of swords that we have here. Swords is the air element. That's going to be your intellect, it's going to be communication, thought, truth versus deception. It could also mean legal matters. But in any event, let's take a look at the Knight. The Knight is here to tell you to be realistic and practical about things. Perhaps some of the perceptions you've had, the thoughts you've had, really aren't based in reality. Again, you may be listening to things. There's a lot of stuff to listen to here on YouTube, where people they have these little podcasts and they're promoting a particular viewpoint. And there may be some of those things that resonate, but then when you do further analysis on it and you think about them a little more deeply, you realize, and maybe you're starting to realize that now, that some of the things that you're hearing about really have no basis in fact. And so rather than jumping to conclusions and jumping on the bandwagon, the Knight of Pentacles is there to assist you to be more practical and measured and realistic in what you think and do and all of that. He's holding a coin in his hand in offering. Knights like to offer their services to other people. How to feel more materially secure, how to feel more physically secure in your life, and have things be more reliable and dependable, instead of just sort of listening to this person or that person or that person or that person and adopting a belief system that may or may not be based in reality. And so the Knight of Pentacles would be suggesting take a little more measured approach to what you're doing and how you're doing it. Be more just kind of step back and take a look and do your due diligence. Pentacles can be about education, and so educate yourself as to what is really the truth there, instead of just taking what seems to get your emotions all riled up, and thinking that that's reality. These days, we all have to be very mindful of that, especially given the amount of time many people spend on social media. And you have to ask yourself, why does this person want me to believe what they're saying? Why are they pushing this idea? What is the truth behind that? And in that case, Pentacles would also be about doing your due diligence and looking at everything in a critical eye and making sure that, in fact, there's some truth to what they're saying. Then we move on to the 10 of Swords, and I promise this is not a bad card. It looks bad though, doesn't it? Here we have a guy on the sand there on the ground next to a big body of water. Some mountains are in the distance. There's 10 swords piercing his back. But his head is turned toward the light. You can see the light returning right here. You can see the dark sky from the night sky is lifting. You start to see some clouds, and you see the light is returning even though you don't yet see the sun. Because it's yellow, we know that the sun is rising, essentially, on a new day. 10 is about endings and beginnings. 9 is about endings as well, but if you reduce 10 to 1, 1 and 0 is 1, then you're talking about new beginnings. And so you're also talking about a new day. You're also, and I've done this before, and maybe I have it here. I do. Degas, the rune Degas, looks like this. And you can see the X in the middle, which is, of course, the Roman numeral 10. So if you were to terminate the ends, or put a line on each side, you would have Degas. And you would have the end of one phase and the beginning of another. So a new day, in other words. And that's the key word for Degas is day. So the idea that you've let go of all of the thoughts and perceptions that aren't working for you, and your head is turned, the face is turned and facing the new day before you. where anything could happen. You start thinking about things in a different way. And so I think that in order that you release yourself from the imprisonment of carcer, again, think of this as just a little ampule or a container of sorts where you keep all of your thoughts and your perceptions and your beliefs in this little container and you hang on tightly to it. Problem is, if you don't have anything else to think about or have other things to consider, then you stay there. And maybe it's really, and what Thurisaz is asking you to do is to break out of the chains of self-perception and or self-delusion, if you will, depending on how you're going to end up seeing that. And break through that. Use that energy of Thurisaz to break through the deception of the self-deception that Carcer talks about, and the self-restriction that doesn't need to be there. Again, if you've gotten caught up in a group, for example, and you have adopted the beliefs of that group. We've talked about this before in these readings, where sometimes it's easy to do that. You get caught up in either a family, a familial mindset, if you will, or you have a group of friends or a cause you join or whatever, and you get caught up in this stuff, and that's all you see. And you don't consider other ways of thinking about things and seeing things. And it just seems to me that the Knight is asking you to do that in a way that's very measured, to be very careful about how you embrace this sort of stuff. And if you are stuck in perception, that it's time, with the 10 here, to let go of that. And then when you do, you're going to have, here's the Queen in her garden. Or a lady of means in any event. She's there. She's got her hooded hawk or predator bird on her gloved fist there, or her hand, and he's sitting there. You see a different kind of balance with the trees here. You've got the abundance around her with I believe these are grapevines. They are, with grapes growing on them. She's got a hand on one pentacle there, on one big coin, and she's got all of her wealth around her and her abundance around her. She has I want this cape, by the way, or this whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call that. It's not really a cape. But it's beautiful, and she's out in the garden, and she's getting ready for a hunt, and she's at peace, and she feels emotionally balanced and balanced, just balance in her life. She's got abundance. She's got a life well lived. So when you let and the implication there with this woman, she as the if she is the queen, she's trustworthy and wise and all of that. If she's not, then she's just a woman who is living her life well, and she has her abundance around her. She feels a sense of balance there. And the end with nine can also be about generosity, but it can also be about endings and completion. So there's a sense of fulfillment here with the 9 of Pentacles, that she feels materially secure, and she feels her life is secure. But in order to do that, she had to let go of perceptions that were getting in the way of all of that and keeping her stuck in a place that she could never end up here. And so sometimes when we get ourselves into a carcer experience, and we have to break through that, because if we don't, then whatever peace and security and abundance that we feel or we'd like to feel, there's always going to be this feeling of I can't get there. When you keep yourself locked up in a certain set of beliefs, maybe you can't get to another place. And if you're feeling like some of that is just not working for you anymore, it could be also preventing you from achieving the peace and the harmony within that you're desiring. Maybe that's the thoughts that you've been having or the beliefs you've adopted are just too conflict oriented, too judgmental, maybe. Anything that makes you feel like, I have to believe this about that person now, and I can't believe anything else. And so just feeling yourself caught in that own internal dialogue can be very oppressive, and it's a choice that's been made by you instead of something that's really been imposed upon you. You've chosen to go there. Well, you can make another choice. And with the 22 numerology for the reading, the cosmic builder, you've got profound soul level change or manifestation that can take place. And so to release those bonds for that you've imposed upon yourself, you have to get ever higher in your perception and in your belief systems. And also in the negative self-talk. This can also indicate negative self-talk. But again, the face is not turned upward. It's on the guy's on his stomach, so you're going into his back. But his head is turned toward the light. And so he's ready to let go of all of that and embrace the new day, essentially. And again, when that happens and you let go of all this imprisoning stuff that you've been dealing with and holding on to, then you can find the peace that you're looking for. If you put an end to that, essentially, with the 9, and you embrace the abundance, the inner abundance that you have. And in this, I mean, obviously in the case of this woman, we're talking about material abundance here. But at the same time, there's a sense of balance here with the 2 trees. Anytime you see 2 of anything that are basically identical, it can be 2 rock faces, it can be 2 towers, it can be 2 trees. With the chariot, you can see 2 wheels on the chariot. You're talking about a level of balance where you get still and you start to realize things that I don't need to, especially with the chariot, knowing when to take the reins and when to just step back and observe. That's another meaning there you can find with the chariot. And so again, I think with the Knight of Pentacles, he's offering a new, measured, reliable, dependable, pragmatic way of seeing things. And again, with the 10 of Swords, you're going to let go of perceptions that don't serve you anymore, and use the energy of Thursday to break through the bonds of the Carcer energy, so you can get out from within that cage you've been living, or the bubble you've been living in of perception that maybe you don't even really realize, well, how did I get there? I don't believe this. I got caught up maybe, or whatever it is, right? It's very hard when you're growing up and you go to college, or you leave home, you get your own life going, and it's hard when parents watch their kids do that, especially if you have taught your children a certain set of values, or there's just the way of thinking about the world. And it's difficult to watch your children make a different choice and to see things differently. And sometimes kids will try to stay within that family belief structure, and then they'll eventually break free from it and start thinking their own thoughts and start considering things from their own perspective. And it's tough for mom and dad to or the parents, whatever you have there, to release them from the bonds of the familial belief structure sometimes, and when the kid wants to go his or her own way on things, but at the same time, that's their prerogative. And sometimes we get caught up in a set of beliefs, we get involved in a group or whatever of friends, of some kind of cause that you're involved in, and if you don't believe those things, you can't be part of that group. And so you like being part of the group, you like the friendships, you like being with other people, and so maybe that's really why you're staying, and not so much the beliefs themselves. But at the same time, you fear the rejection if you walk away, or you start thinking along the lines of something else and thinking differently than the group does, and suddenly you don't have anything in common with them. And so that realization alone can be the Thursday's energy, where you break through or out of the little bubble that you've been living in here, and you realize that you maybe belong somewhere else, that this is really not working for you anymore, and you're ready to embrace a new day. And again, when that happens, you have this feeling of in the end, you have a better feeling of security, because what you've built is your own stuff. It's not stuff you've taken from something else, or you've decided to believe in. This is something that you've manifested yourself, and that's what I see with the Nine of Pentacles here. She's manifested this peace and this harmony within, and this wealth and abundance. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It doesn't mean that she's necessarily wealthy in that regard. She's just wealthy in the fact that she has made her own way in life, and she believes what she does. And if it happens to correspond with somebody else, well, that's fine. But that's always been her choice. And she never ever felt like, or at least if she did, she got out of feeling like somebody else is controlling my thoughts. And in order to stay with this group, I have to believe all this stuff, and I don't really want to, And so moving on with that, away from that, then you have a feeling of peace that maybe you didn't have before, especially if you feel like, you're not really adopting your own belief structure, that you're adopting belief structures of other people, just to feel a sense of belonging. She does just fine in her garden, with her hawk, which she's going to go on a hunt with, right? So just something to think about, if you feel like you're a little bit uncomfortable with one thing or another, don't be afraid to think about envisioning it a different way, and your life in a different way. You are the one that can manifest all of that. You're the one that can make those choices. With the 22 numerology for today's reading, it's the cosmic builder, and anything is possible with that. When you let go of things that no longer serve you, that maybe you just decided, this is not a good fit for me anymore, I need to go pursue something else. What you build from there, it can be quite profound, and the 22 numerology would suggest that. So anyhow, I think that's it. Just something to think about. You don't have to be stuck in one place. There's always a new day coming. Give it a few minutes. It's there. And just do your due diligence. Be practical about it. Be, somebody who is realistic instead of somebody that follows along with the crowd necessarily. So, and see what happens. See if you feel differently about things when you chart your own course, when you manifest your own destiny, when you cosmically build your new life. So anyway, because all that's saying is it's coming from higher awareness instead of ego. So well, anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. The web address there is imsteppingaside.com. The forecast is out for the week. Correspondences for Work and Magic are out for the week. I do a write-up of the reading notes for these videos that I do. I do the readings twice a week. If this is your first time here, and if it is, welcome and thanks for coming by. I appreciate that. I hope you'll click subscribe and come back. And just think about things from a different perspective. I don't make predictions. I don't try to do anything like that. I think that there's just too many possible timelines out there to be really sure about anything. But at least the runes and the cards tell a story, if you will. And if it happens to resonate with you today or in the next few days or 6 months from now, maybe you'll just remember, well, you know what? Maybe I'm just feeling a little self-imprisoned here by my own, and it's a prison of my own making. And I can make anything I want. I can do anything I want. I can think anything I want. And maybe in doing so, you release yourself from, feeling like you have to do this or that. And, you start embarking on something entirely new of your own making. So, whether it applies now or later, the readings are just nice to give you something that you can think about in a different way about a particular situation. So that's all this really is, and maybe the cards and the runes will provide some insight that you hadn't thought of before. So anyhow, Again, thanks for watching, and come back again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.